It is time for Main Street Magazine on Robin Hood Radio. You can find Main Street Magazine throughout our tri-state region, many different free pickup locations. It comes out every month. And of course, you can also find them on their website, which is mainstreetmag.com, and right here on Robin Hood Radio on a Tuesday morning. Good morning, Thorin.
Good morning. How are you today?
I am absolutely mediocre. It's okay, you know. Every morning you open your eyes, it's a good morning. All right.
Course.
Well, it's interesting. Millerton had a real big weekend, especially with their Earth Day, what's celebration with a lot of the businesses and the whole town getting involved. But the big story, and this is one of those stories that I have to. I remember when Ralph first proposed moving the old schoolhouse to the center of Millerton. And I said, geez, that's going to be expensive. That's never going to happen. Boom. It happened. The rail trail. Great idea, I said to myself, but can it really reach out and connect far? Obviously, yes, because not only did Millerton combine Earth Day, but they also had the next phase completed in the rail trail.
Well, it was technically completed last fall, but it was the quote-unquote grand opening, and Mark Molinaro and a bunch of other people came out. They had the ribbon cutting last week, so it was but due to COVID, it was kind of an invite-only thing. But it was a great thing to have happen, to have it officially opened, and it's very exciting. And a lot of people have been using it a lot, both this spring, last fall, and even this winter.
The whole thing about the rail trail now that is so simply amazing is how far you can go on it.
You can go all the way up to Copic Falls, and the Harlem Valley Rail Trail Association. They're trying to connect it all the way up through Hillsdale.
It really is an amazing thing, and you compare that also to the walkway over the Hudson. This is where Dutchess County has just done an amazing job. I know the rail trail is a big draw for Millerton and right along that whole rail trail, but it combines with the foresight of the taking that old railroad bridge and turning it into really basically an international tourist attraction. I mean, Dutchess County has been very good in this aspect of taking things that belonged to the railroads years ago and changing them into public parks.
It is, I mean, I don't know if you've been on the one that goes north from Millerton, but it is absolutely beautiful going through the swamp there and seeing some of the overlooks over some of the water features. And I took my daughter and one of her little friends and her mom. We went, the moms walked, the girls were on their bikes last weekend. And it was just so much fun seeing it and just seeing nature and kind of just being out there by yourself in a safe environment and, not having to worry about the kids. And it's just wonderful that this is free to everyone to use.
And now the mileage it takes up is amazing. I remember, I think it was over a year ago where the rail trail asked for permission to use access to do construction work off where our antenna site is on Route 22. And I asked them to be, and they were extremely careful. And that work that is done and the trail that is open now, really, it's, like I said, I think that Dutchess County and the villages that encompass in the rail trail have done an outstanding job. And once again, it's another destination point for people who want to come visit Dutchess County.
It certainly is, and just think if they are able to connect all the way up to Hillsdale. And then I know when I was in Chatham over 10 years ago, they were talking about if they were able to hook up to the rail trail going down to the one that would essentially went from Wassaic all the way up through Hillsdale, and then around Craryville, it split. It went north to Chatham, and then it kept going to Hudson. And when I was in Chatham, there was talk of trying to do the rail trail from Chatham down through Philmont to potentially at some point connect with the one that goes past Millerton and all the way to Hudson. If that were ever to become a reality, it would be an amazing thing. So I don't know if that's still in the talks, but I know at least that they're still working on the Harlem Valley Rail Trail Association is still talking about trying to connect all the way up to Hillsdale at some point.
Once again, this is Main Street Magazine on Robin Hood Radio, and we normally look at a lot of different interesting stories. But this issue, especially on the web, you have two pretty big stories. One we just talked about, the Harlem Valley Rail Trail, the grand opening ceremony, but a story that we've been covering out of Copake, and that is the development there. Where the developer who wants to put in it's actually a power plant, but of course it deals with solar. Well, New York State offers them the opportunity to switch to a whole different siting process, which basically appears to me to take the town out of the decision-making process. But you've got a story on that as well.
The solar thing, actually, it's we have in our May issue that's about to come out, hopefully Thursday. We have a huge feature about this where I don't know if people know too much about the solar situation in Copake, but there's talk of potentially taking about 300 acres and putting a solar farm there. And Griffin did a very in-depth story. We talked to Governor Cuomo's office. We talked to Daphne Jordan, as well as the town supervisors, local residents, and many other people, in a very comprehensive article where we just have them tell the story and let folks, to make the decisions. But yes, essentially, the state has kind of overridden some local decisions, but there's reasoning for both sides.
Yep.
and so it's a very interesting debate, a very interesting situation. But it goes to, hey, we just celebrated Earth Day, and it goes to energy and the energy crisis and global warming, and so there are many issues to be had. But of course, the major thing that most folks, besides the fact that the state has kind of overridden the town, is that they don't want to look at this huge solar farm and lose 3 beautiful farms.
It's well, that's the whole thing. I mean, it's interesting because Dutchess County now, along with the new natural gas plant, of course, and the solar plant that is opposite that, basically up the road a little bit, it really has focused in on Dutchess County. But in Connecticut, we have basically the same. When a company wants to put a cell tower in, if there's poor cell service, basically the state controls it, the Connecticut Siting Council. And for the public to get involved and to actually fight it is much harder in Connecticut. And once again, like you say about the trade-offs, there's good points on both sides, but sometimes the public really is limited in how much they can protest or turn against the decision if the state really gets behind it. And that's in both Connecticut and New York. So a couple of interesting stories there.
It is, and this is, for that area and a little bit beyond, it's certainly going to be a hot topic, and so we're excited to see when our May issue comes out what people's opinions are and how they, when they know kind of the full story on each side. And I mean, we even spoke with Scenic Hudson, which you and I've talked about before, that has done amazing things in Dutchess County to fight environmental issues, and so to get even their opinion on this and just to think of the broader picture. I know I'm very familiar with the area that this is going, and I actually owned a house across from one of the fields that they're proposing to put the solar in. I'm like, I'm a huge advocate for environmentalism, so I'm all for solar, but it kind of tugged at me a different way. I'm like, wait a second, would I still have wanted to live there and look at that? What would that do to my real estate value? And so you think of these things from from your personal and your very selfish perspective, but then on a global and thinking on the environment, and it's a tough thing. And it's gonna. After I read the piece, I was like, I don't know where I stand on this anymore. It's there's so many factors. It's such a hard decision.
It's not like the power plant that was put on Route 22 in Dover, which was replacing a brownfield site, which was absolutely horrid and dangerous. So, I mean, when you're replacing something like that, the reaction can be still against it, but it's not like you're saying where you're taking pristine views of horse farms or dairy farms where there's lots of green, and all of a sudden, boom, it's gone, and it's right next to you. So. 6 of one, half dozen of the other. But so then the new issue should be out on the streets. Within the next week, right?
I sent files. I think it was last Friday morning. I saw the proof yesterday, and my printer is working overtime right now to try to get it to us before the end of the week. So we will hopefully have it out everywhere by the weekend's close.
All right. Well, mainstreetmag.com on the web, and of course the pickup location store. We will check with you next week.
All right, and I'll be excited to hear your thoughts on the solar issue after you read the article.
Okay. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thor and Christian Donner, once again this morning, Main Street Magazine here on Robin Hood Radio. It's always nice when we get together and take a look at the stories that we're following there. MainStreetMag.com on the web.